Woke up this morning, coffee in hand, flipped on the screen, my favorite man. Crafty's on the TV, chipping that stone with obsidian and flint. He's in the zone. He's shaping the future with a hit and a crack, building the legends, ain't no turning back. With every sharp edge, he's teaching the way of the ancients who thrived back in the day. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. Underneath those layers of dust and grit finds the magic every little bit. A sculptor of stories buried in the ground. Each piece he uncovers wisdom abound. With every collision, the sparks start to fly. As the old world awakens, we question why. He's digging deeper where the shadows play, reviving old tales that could fade away. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. And in this life, we're all just searching for our place in the world, a way to keep working. With the flick of his wrist, he brings forth the light. In every gray morning, he makes it feel right. So gather around, let the stories unfold. Crafty's our guide through the young and the old. With the sun rising high and the day moving on, Crafty carves dreams till the light is all gone. He's shaping the future one chip at a time. With every creation, he's keeping the rhyme. From the heartland of Texas to the mountains of green, the legacy lives on through the stonework unseen. With every perspective, he's showing the way. Crafty keeps going, come whatever may. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. So here's to the mornings with coffee in hand and Crafty on the screen, the true heart of the land. With a hit and a crack, he's paving the way through stone and through story. He inspires the day.
Okay, let's get started here. Let's see. Yeah, I can hear myself. Okay, everything's going good. Tonight is Natural Tool Friday. Right, it is Friday, I hope. I lose track of days. Yes, it's Friday. Just to make sure, I have been known to forget what day it is. Okay. Hey man, how can you nap and you don't even know what day it is? You don't even know what day it is? Well, yeah, sometimes I don't. That's what happens when you get senile. All right, so I got a couple super chats. Jesse just gave me one. Thank you. And Alan gave me one. Awesome. Thank you. $10 each. These guys are generous tonight. Let's see. Where am I? Let's put a heart and a like. Software fund, says Jesse. And all those super chats are paying off, says Alan. Yes, yes. Yeah. I'm using a trial version of this. I'm using a trial version of this new live stream app. And if it works, which it seems to be working, I will pay a monthly subscription for the professional version. Yeah. Whatever that means. All right. So tonight I've got obsidian and one piece of chert. I was hoping maybe to experiment with this piece of Texas chert, but I might just do the obsidian only. Yeah, because someone asked me to do obsidian with natural tools. Now this is dacite, but this is my favorite, the black butter obsidian. So if that, I'm going to start with the dacite. If that doesn't work as well as I'm thinking it will work, I will switch over to my favorite. I don't want to switch over to my favorite because it's very easy to break stuff when you're using natural tools. Much easier than if you use copper. But I will risk it just for the video. Thank goodness for Flintknapping Friday. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. 95 people are on the live stream watching to see when am I going to start. I will start soon. I got to wear double gloves for the obsidian and dacite. I will start with the dacite. Yeah. And hammerstone. I got two hammerstones. One is hard hammerstone, and this one's a medium. We're going to try the hard hammerstone first on the obsidian, dacite obsidian. This is more grainy. This isn't a lot like rock compared to regular obsidian because it is kind of grainy. We'll see how it goes. It's been a while since I knapped obsidian with natural tools or dacite. And like all natural tool knapping, it's not that easy. I should break it right there where it's weird, huh? I should. But that kind of takes away the width. I need some width on this. Yeah, if I break it right there, it'll be too narrow. So let's try to get rid of that lump on this side first. I will check the chat from time to time, but I don't know when. Just whenever I feel like there's a good pause, a good time for a pause. And it will be without warning. So hard hammerstone works okay on this. Right? And there's different areas of the hammerstone that I use. I don't always use the same area, as you can tell. I use different areas, and I like a hammerstone that's all kind of wonky like this, because some areas are smaller, some areas are larger, and it depends on what I want. The surface that I use depends on what I want for a flake. Yep. And you'll see I'll move this around and experiment. I don't always know what's best. I just experiment, and whatever seems to be working, I'll stick with it, even though something else might be better, because I don't always remember what's best from rock to rock. Like, let's say I've been knapping a dacite all week, and certain things are working, certain different things are working. Sometimes I won't remember that maybe a softer hammerstone was working better just a couple days ago. Let's say I knapped obsidian all week. So I'll use two different methods to try to get the same result. Okay, so there's that. Just keep that in mind. And it's the same with knappers back in the day, I would imagine. They don't always use the same technique because maybe they forget. Yeah, but they're not as spastic as you are, dude. They remember everything because archaeologists. It confuses archaeologists if they're all different, if they forget what they were using a few days ago. Yeah, that does confuse the researchers. But you can use different techniques to obtain the same result if you just go by what's working at the time. Also, if you break it, like if you break a hammerstone or something happens and you lose it, like maybe one of the kids walked off with it. Do kids walk off with tools? If you have to ask that, you don't have kids. They get curious. Sometimes the wife might need a hammerstone or something to grind down some seeds, and you don't know that the wife has it because she broke her hammerstone doing something or whatever, lost it, or maybe she got some help that day and they only have one mano for the matate, but they've got two people that are available to do grinding. So, hey, let's just get my husband's hammerstone and we can both grind down these seeds. He won't know. You know, there's many things that can happen where you don't always have your tools. So you have to do the same kind of flaking with a different thing. But the archaeologists, oh man, that screws them all up. Let's see. So I'm going to try to get rid of these lumps. Why do I bring that kind of stuff up? Because I want you to think about that stuff and not just regurgitate what you hear on internet culture. There's a big flake for the big flake people. See that? Perfect. Absolutely controlled. I did all of that on purpose. I knew exactly where it was going to go and how far and how deep. Oh, yes. Perfectly controlled edges and everything, right? Dude, you sound like you're BSing. You know, you're making fun of us, too. Exactly. I didn't know that was going to do exactly that. I was hoping it would do something like that. That's another thing I don't want you to get confused about. I don't always know what's going to happen. I'm just hoping in many cases. This could snap. As I hit really hard here, it could snap anywhere because this is dacite. It's kind of snapping halfish. Yes, it is. I already took off some of this lump, but it's still not perfect. I want to get rid of this mass first here, yeah, before I start hitting into this mass some more. I don't know why. It just feels like it's stronger if I still have some mass on that side because I'm going to hit this pretty hard. All right? All right. And if hammerstone seems to be working okay. I might have better results with longer flakes or less crushed on the edges if I use an antler. But I started with hammerstone, so I kind of got the feel for it. So I'm gonna stick with it for now. Let's see. If it breaks, it breaks. Oh well. If this thing breaks, oh well. Yeah, it did break. How much did I lose? Not that much. And yeah, so I need to figure out something else. That's kind of a weird break, right? Why did it break across there? It's a thick area. I might have cracked it with an incipient on the edge, and that opened up and went across. How do you prevent those incipients? I don't know. See how that's kind of weird looking right there, the fracture? It probably had an incipient crack there. Right when I hit that nice one, this one. A little bit too much force. So it looks like it cracked right there where I took off that big one. So large flakes are not, in this case, they're not the be-all, end-all of flaking. You don't really want these large flakes in some cases because this one messed me up. Lots of shattering going on with that hard hit. I think that's why it opened up and went across. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So it wasn't because of the hardness of the hammerstone. It was because of the incipients. I gotta be careful with the incipients. That's what I call them. All right, I think we can still make something out of this. Okay, I need to drop that edge down more or use a different tool or do something because it's not giving me some good results, right? It's giving me crushing. I might not be doing it right though. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Let's try the different hammerstone. Maybe it'll produce better edges. And I don't need to drop this edge down too much. I should be able to scoop it out because I've got a lot of mass on this side that I need to get rid of anyway. I can probably scoop it out and get rid of some of that. See, what I can do is I can try to be smart and lower that edge a lot. But in the process of doing that, I could take off too much off of this side. Like I could drive a flake here and by accident go across the whole piece. I don't want to lose too much off of this side. As an example. You know what I'm saying? I got to be a little bit strategic. I can't just look at only the edge. Yes, it's strategic to look at the edge and drop it down. That's part of the strategy too. But there are other considerations. I don't want to have to try to repair a scoop out on this side. I want to keep this side. If I can. This one doesn't do much. So I'm doing a little bit of everything, but see how this is depositing a lot of dust on here? That means this hammerstone's a little bit too soft. See, it's not doing anything. It should be able to shatter that edge easily, but it's not. So let's do the hard hammerstone again. And when I say shatter, I meant fracture. I was thinking fracture, and I said shatter. Nothing's going to do it. There it is. So I can zigzag. If I do this successfully, I can start zigzagging a little bit. Let's see if this will zag. I zigged, and now I can zag it down that way. Maybe. Yes. I think it did it. Yes. It broke apart, but yeah, I did it. Yeah, like that. And that was kind of, that edge was lower, right? There's the other piece. Was that edge lower than this edge on this side? Well, it had a better angle. This is all crushed. So, yeah. That worked okay. So we're getting there. We're getting there slowly. I'll check the chat as soon as we move on to the next stage. I'm going to take this little lump out of here now by using this, which isn't that great because it's smooth. A lot of times when it's smooth like that, I got to hit extra hard, and then it shatters it in an undesirable way because of the lack of accuracy with these hard hits, etc., etc. It's not just a matter of, oh, that's perfect, you can do that, really good, and you shouldn't have any trouble at all, because if that's right and this is right and you're holding it right, everything should go right. Right? No, not right. Okay? It doesn't always work, but luckily it did. Luckily. Yes. Okay. And what's the variables that make it not work? Mainly the accuracy. That's the variable that often makes it not work, is when you have no accuracy or you're off a little bit, which is very easy to do in Flintknapping. And those little subtle differences in accuracy make all the difference in many cases between breaking and not breaking. That's why it's hard to teach how to not break it, because a lot of it depends on your accuracy, not just the setup, not just how the edges look and how the hammerstone looks and how the positioning looks. It depends on where you hit it and how hard you hit it. You're leaving out half the equation if you're not talking about accuracy. That's why I like to use indirect percussion. There's more accuracy. It's also physically easier, but accuracy is a big one. I'm going to stop trying to zigzag for a minute and just try to run a flake this way, because I'm getting bored of trying to zigzag that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Did it go? It did not go. It kind of went a little bit. What can I do? I'm kind of limited with these tools. They're so big in the area's not. I say big. I was going to say big and bulky, but not really, because I use small hammerstones. The area where the area that you have to use from your tool to the workpiece is bigger and, how else do I say this, fatter than with copper or with something else that is, how do I say this, stronger, right? Hammerstones are very strong, yes, but their metals are stronger, and once in a while you can maybe get a piece of bone that's pretty strong. Unfortunately, I don't have any really nice pieces of bone other than on the end of the antler, so I'm gonna start this in a minute. I was trying to go as far as I can with the hammerstone, but it seems like it's a little bit too fat to get in there where I need to get some of these flakes to travel. It just kind of smashes a big area on the edge. And if I take time to try to isolate these areas on the edges, I lose a lot of width. So not only do I lose a lot of width in general because of the fatness of the tool, I lose it if I try to isolate these areas. And then I end up with something really, really small, like an almond, if I lose too much width. All right? That's one of the big obstacles is you have to preserve the areas where you're going to use for striking. You have to preserve the areas that you are going to use for striking. You can't just waste the striking areas. Okay? By trying to isolate, for example. There are other things that waste the edges, but one of them is trying to isolate. You can isolate, yes, but make sure that you can absorb the loss of edge. Yeah, that's okay. That was okay. Let's see. I gotta strike fast and very accurately. Yeah, that kind of did work. So I think I'm reaching the limits of what I can do with the hammerstone. So I'm gonna look at the chat here. Hold on, maybe I can do one more. Yeah, like that. Yes. That's all smashy.
Yeah, but hammerstones are not supposed to smash like that. You're just not doing it right.
Sure. Okay. Didn't smash that side. So I'm trying to drive inward so I can get a longer flake. But if it doesn't want to do it, it does that. It doesn't like what I wanted it to do. It doesn't want to be an arrowhead. Let's see. How long is this? 3 1/4. Perfect size. All right, so let me check the chat while I pause. The next stage is different than this stage. This is the easy part. Already done the easy part. Now comes the hard part. Okay, so we're going to switch mentality here in a minute. But let me check the chat first.
You don't have different mentalities, dude. You got one mentality, and it's called STUPID.
All right, fine. Let's see. Hey, Jay is here. Are you making an arrowhead? This rock is massive. I'm not really familiar. Yeah, I'm making an arrowhead. Let's see. It's probably going to end up looking something like this. Because I think I made this one with natural tools also. Yes. I don't remember. I've slept a couple times already since then, right? I don't know. I can't remember if I made that with a natural tool or not. I don't know. This is a tough rock. Anyways, let me see. Yeah, Jay's here. Alan, I've said hi to Alan already. Jim Main is here. Nightmare Frog. That's a cool name. John Jones says hi. We got a lot of new people. Okay. Did not break Chad Blackstone. What does that mean? What does that mean? Mr. Jim is here. Jared is here. We should have about 4,000 views by now. I guess so. I don't know. By avoiding silver, we eliminate Sylviana TV? What does that mean? Or Sylvania TV? I know what Sylvania TVs are. Let's see. They got Patrick's live stream recommended squelched. The recommendations are squelched. Story of my life. Let me see. Antler billet, yes. I'm going to switch to Antler billet here in a minute. If I missed, Mike Mason's here. If I miss saying hi to you, it's not on purpose, okay? I see you guys talking to each other in the chat, which is perfectly fine. Pee-wee and Grover's kid. Dockenstein. Making fun of me? Are you making fun of my voices that I make? I don't know. Was that voice Grover? No, I just make up these little weak voices making fun. I make fun by doing these little weak voices. Yeah. And troll voices. People that troll me in the past have said things like that. Can you use gold for napping? I guess that's what that means when someone says gold. Yeah, you can probably use gold for napping, but I don't know why you would be foolish enough to use that, because it wears out. And you can't recover those pieces of gold. Let's see. Tempering this one. Let's see. All right, so I don't think I missed any questions. What I'm doing is I'm looking for questions. Hey, I think I need to delete somebody. Yeah. Let's see. Someone just keeps pasting the same thing over and over again. This is going to be fun. You're going to let me have some fun today. There it goes. See you later. Let's see. What else we got? All these people saying hi. If you keep saying hi over and over again, you're going to go away too. Yeah. I'm going to cut you some slack because maybe you're 6 years old and you don't realize that you've hit the same button over and over again when you said hi. But if you keep doing that, you're going to go away. Okay. Where's our police unit? Yeah, not here. That's okay. I've got 2 moderators. It doesn't matter if they're not here. Jack, you don't have a pure white arrowhead for sale? I've been looking for one. Yeah, I can't get pure white arrowheads or pure white stone. That's one of the hardest things in Flintknapping for me to do is get pure white stone. I can get stone with like imperfections in it that has white with like black and gray blotches and stuff in it, but I can't get just pure white. because I'm also going to save up pure white chert and novaculite for my own stuff. I do once in a while offer white novaculite points in my auctions. I guess you're new. You haven't looked at my other previous auctions or something. But yeah, I'm going to try to get more white material. I'll probably have to buy it from somebody. This, pure white novaculite. That's not all that rare, but the white chert is very rare. Bushy can get pure white stone from New York. Yeah, but it's all quartzite, right? That's not easy to work. Can you explain deltas again? I missed the lesson. Okay. I can explain what they are. What should I explain? What they are in particular, or how to deal with them, or how to create them, how to avoid them, or how to install them, how to grind them down, or how to not grind them? I mean,
Yeah, everything, dude. Yeah, and everything I don't know what to ask also, okay? Everything about deltas, and that's all. That's all. That's all I want. Everything.
and I'm not making fun of you, Marty. I just think it's funny that people ask me vague questions, because if I try to answer it, I got to try to answer a lot of different things pertaining to that thing. So you got to be a little bit more specific. Let's see. All right, so let's get back to the knapping. I'm getting anxious already by my own conversational or lack of conversational abilities. And I will check the chat again in a little while. Okay? Here we go. So, in preparation for the next stage, I'm grinding this. And I'm sorry that this is the same color as the background, but I like using gray backgrounds in wintertime. I don't know why. I should probably figure out a better color for the background in winter. Let's see. So I grind the edges before I do the antler thing. I don't really need to, but that's just something I like to do, right? I might not need to grind them down. Let's see. This is a white-tailed deer antler, very large, and part of the skull is attached. It's not a shed. Okay? All right. There's a specific angle on there, so it's not cut straight. There's an angle like this. Whatever that angle is, 15 degrees or, I don't know, 10 degrees? Whatever that is, it's very specific. You'd have the straight part, but then for me, I need that angle to be very specific. I don't know what that angle is. It's just that angle, yeah. And I do that on my other ones. That one's maybe a little more drastic. Maybe that's why I don't use this one as much. But I put that angle on there. What about this one? This one doesn't have the angle. And that's probably why I'm not using it. This one seems to be working well. Okay. All right. And it's from the other view, it's slightly rounded. Yeah. But I also use flat. See, flat from this way, flat from that way. This works sometimes on other rocks. And maybe it might work on that site, and I don't even know. Let's get going. I'm always worried about the overshots. So what that did was that blasted away that mess that I had before. See? And I knew exactly that was going to do that because I've got full control. Yes. Okay? And you guys that know, you can chuckle. You can chuckle in the background, but the new guys will go, yeah, that was a good controlled plate, because archaeologists say those are controlled plates. Yeah. I know what they say. But I got lucky, actually, on that one. See, this was the so-called planned flake, but it extended itself into the other area. See that? Which is lucky. All right, let's see if I can get another flake that's good. Ready? For you big flake guys, it didn't go quite as far as I wanted, or maybe it did. Let's see. No, it didn't pop out that little goober in there, but it did pretty good. Yeah, I like it. I think it worked out good. How do I pop out that little goober? Let's see. Maybe I can hit it with a hammerstone on the surface like this. Sometimes that pops out. Maybe I can use a Antler tine to get in there, pop it out like that. Let's see, like this. No, no, that's not working. How about another tool? This is a little bit flatter. Get in there. It's important to get rid of these little goobers like that because they interfere with the flaking. I can just do a little gentle flake. Yes, no, I missed it. That's a controlled miss. Yeah, I meant to do that miss. Yeah, I meant to do that too. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. It's just the accumulation of good flakes that determines how good it looks. The more good flakes you have, the better it looks, right? If you don't have good flakes, it doesn't look that great, but you just set it aside as, if you're making a set of these things, you set it aside for later. Maybe you can improve it later and you just move on to the next piece if you make a mistake, like they did back in the day. It didn't do it. And that was isolated too. So don't think just because you isolate it and have it perfect, it'll work perfect. It didn't want that inward force. And maybe it wasn't low enough. It doesn't need to be a low area. Oh yeah, deltas. Deltas are just these areas that stick down below that are lower. These little triangle areas that are low are deltas. See, this is a little delta. That's a delta. That's a delta. This is a delta. Any triangular looking or pointy area that's down below the edge, a low spot, that's a delta. Now, some people like them, some people don't. I try to get rid of them during the last stages because I like the edge to be nice and continuous. But I will also strike on the low areas, but I prefer a large low area like this that doesn't have a delta, but it's a large or wide low area. That way I can hit anywhere along there. I don't have to be trying to hit that specific spot. Okay? Because if I don't hit it right, because of my lack of accuracy, it just wipes out that delta without wiping out a flake. It just takes a delta off. Okay? Yeah, and you can sculpt the edge, and you can get very persnickety and very, I don't know how to call it, but you can get obsessed with controlling and shaping that edge to the point where it can drive you nuts. Some people are the opposite. If they don't spend a lot of persnickety time, it drives them nuts. They have to be persnickety because they just can't wing it. They have to be persnickety, or if they're not persnickety, it drives them nuts. I'm the opposite. If I'm too persnickety, it drives me nuts. Okay? Some people are the opposite of that. These little boogery areas are a pain. Let's see. Why do we get these little boogery areas? Because I'm trying to drive in these flakes, and I haven't hit the sweet spot to where they'll feather out nicely. I'm hitting inward too much, I think. Once I get to that sweet spot where they're cooperating, it'll start looking better. Hopefully I'll figure it out. Yes. Come on, do something good. It's starting to try to do something good. Starting, maybe. I'm going to stay optimistic. Come on. Had to do it. I heard something crack. Hopefully it was a good thing. Okay. I'm going to have to be a little more careful on sculpting the edge. It was working fine just a little while ago, but now it's not. So what am I going to do here? Probably have to stop trying to explain things. Trying to explain it messes me up. Yeah, and I'm not hitting hard enough. Nope. I'm losing some energy somewhere. I don't think it's because of the edges are too sharp, but maybe. If the edges are too sharp, I lose energy. If I have to dull these edges anymore, it feels like I'm going to snap this whole thing. That did okay. But it missed the goobery area. But that was a controlled miss, okay? And they don't come out easily. There it goes. Let's see if I can pop this one out finally, maybe. It's easier if it's not in there. It'd be easier to run a flake. When the surfaces are not all boogery, it's easier to run the flakes. Once you get in that zone and hit that sweet spot. Not only are you used to the material, but it's a lot better if it's nice and smooth once you get used to the material. And I keep missing. Oh, I did pop it out though. Okay, but I scooped it a lot. Yep. All right, so I'm just going to try to focus without explaining because the explaining messes me up. It's been a while since I've napped this kind of material with natural tools. There's a bit of a learning curve. It wants to dive a lot. See that? I had to be very careful. It wants to dive. That means I've got to narrow it down a little bit. It's not too bad because it's going at almost halfway, so the diving isn't too bad. But it can be a royal hassle if I don't do this just right. There it goes. It's still very wonky. And yeah, the tip is really thick, but I'm going to leave it that way for now. I want to see, I might need some of that thickness. If I make a mistake somewhere, it needs to be thick so I can make the adjustment to keep it straight. I don't know if that makes sense. If I have thick tip, I can make the adjustment more easily than if the tip is thin. But I think the center line is pretty clear. Yeah. I think I can get that center line right in there. Like that. But I'm going to need to be more accurate here. So I think all the billet strikes are pretty much done. I might be able to do a couple more billet strikes. But I'm pretty much done with the billet strikes, yeah. I might do one in a minute or two if the indirect percussion flaker is not working to my satisfaction. I might take another billet strike to the base, but I think the indirect percussion can take it from here. Yeah. I can turn it over to the indirect percussion. Yikes. And hopefully it'll work. Yeah. Sometimes the indirect percussion cannot remove flakes that are big enough or not to my satisfaction. Yeah. All right, so that's a different mindset. It's time to clean up a little bit and check the chat. You didn't realize that there's different stages, did you? The new guys, there's different mindsets, and people will change their mindset and not tell you that it's a totally different situation during these different stages. They just go straight through. And sometimes they don't even realize that they're changing their mindset because they're so used to it that they think it's just normal. I try to make sure that I tell you things that you need to know that you don't realize. Yes, I do try to tell you things that you don't know what to ask for. All right. One of the things is explain the different stages, or make distinctions so we know where the skills are, where the separation lines between these different skills are. You don't know to ask that question or to make that request. So I pointed out. And see, I can put this flaker right on the spot that I want to strike, and it's very accurate. Now, just because it's accurate doesn't mean that a flake can be removed automatically. The edge quality still has to be good. Quality of the tool has to be good. The force has to be good. The angle has to be good. Everything else has to be good too. It's not just the accuracy. But the accuracy is a large part of it. Hey, someone give me a super chat. Another one? You guys are very generous tonight. Hold on. For all the things, says Jared. Thanks, Crafty. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Very generous. Yeah, Jared, thank you. All right. Let's get back to this. I'm kind of getting anxious. I want to see if I can actually start producing smooth flakes. Because it doesn't like this. At the present time, it's not liking this. All right. Yeah, I've got to focus on the best opportunities. The surfaces are very wonky right now, which also makes it even more wonky as I try to thin it. It's hard to thin when you've got wonky surfaces. Yeah, it's hard to be consistent with the flakes too. Like if you want a flake pattern, you can get a flake pattern more easily, a lot more easily, if the surface is smooth to begin with. And somebody might say, well, that's what the flake pattern is for, to make the surface smooth. Well, no. Another reason for smooth surfaces is because it cuts better, and you might just do that at the very end. Yeah. Of course, you can also do the smooth surface thing throughout the whole process, but it's too persnickety for me. It takes too long, especially if you're doing more than one point. You get totally exhausted that day because you're just working on that one point, making the surface smooth during every stage, but you don't want to do the other 4 or 5 points that you need to make that day. because you're going to go on a hunt tomorrow. Back in the day. If you want to know how they did it back in the day. If you don't, if you just do one-offs, that's fine. It's not an exact science as far as what you want to do with it. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to learn how they did it back in the day, these things were made in sets. They make more than one at a time. How do I know that? Eyewitness accounts, you see the Indian, and artifacts when you find them. In some cases, you'll find groups of them together. It's more efficient as far as time if you do a lot of them together. Also, it makes logical sense. You got your tools out already. You got all your stones in front of you. You know, the raw stones. You got maybe an afternoon. You got lucky the day before. Got yourself a deer, so now you're all well fed. You got some time to sit down and make all the rest, or make the next day's hunting stuff all at one time. It saves you some time to try to do them all at once. So you don't have to, you know, mess with getting your tools ready for just one point at a time. Get your tools ready for lots of points at the same time. And what I mean by getting them ready, you've got to make sure that the tips are sharpened. Make sure that they're not wet. If it rained the night before, the antlers will absorb the moisture from the air. So you got to dry them out before you start knapping. By building a small fire and warming everything up, that might take a little bit of time. As an example. So you don't want to be doing that every time you nap, especially when it's rainy season or whatever. As an example, there's many different reasons why you want to do a lot of stuff, a lot of points all at once. And maybe you're also making some for somebody else because they can't do it. That's always possible too. Not everyone can Flintknap well. Okay. But they might be good at carrying a bunch of stones. They can carry 100 pounds on their back when you can carry only maybe 50. So they carry the stones, and you make the arrowheads for them. That sort of thing. It doesn't do it. It doesn't like the inward force. No, it doesn't. So yeah, the challenge is it doesn't like the inward force, and it tends to dive. And at any time it could get way too thin and snap in half. I've already done what I can up here near the tip with this fat flaker, and I can't make it thinner than this or more narrow because it'll break off. It's already chipping. You see that? If I make it any more narrow, it'll just break off the tip. How do I know? After many years of experience. I've broken many antlers, yes. Come on. I know you can do it. I just don't want you to force me to break this. It's going to force me to break it. So how do you deal with it if it's going to force you to break it? I have to trick it somehow into not breaking by just being on this this side of falling off the cliff. I got to walk on the very edge of the cliff. It's a metaphor for the breakage. You know what I'm saying? I'm very close to snapping this in half. Very close, I can tell. After years of experience, I'm taking some risks to try to get those flakes to go inward. And they need more force to be convinced to do the inward thing. To travel inward. Maybe I need to grind this. It's too lumpy on this tip. Maybe. I don't like knapping with any kind of notching or pitting. Yeah. So here we go. I'm gonna cheat. Okay. And yeah, I can do that. I can take that down with a rock, but to sand it down with a rock takes much longer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be struggling. Let's see. Did I make a lot of money in Super Chats tonight? I don't know. Let's see. I'll check in a minute. If I haven't gotten to your Super Chat yet, I apologize. So did that work? Well, I was able to remove that flake that was having a fit earlier. The edge was having a fit earlier, so I was able to remove that, but it wanted to dive in. Yeah. See, the lower I go with the edge, the more it dives in. That's another consideration. You got to make sure you don't lower the edge too much. But it depends on the rocks. They're not always the same. The formula for how low to go doesn't exist. It depends on the rock, and each rock can be different. Just because I'm knapping dacite like this doesn't mean that you can knap your dacite like this. Your dacite might be slightly different than my dacite. And the slight differences make all the difference. Yeah. I'm trying to zigzag it, but it's not cooperating. It's starting to eat the antler for lunch again. The thing about these, as they get shorter, it gets more pithy in the middle. It's not consistent like copper. As these things get shorter, see there's pith in there? As these things get shorter, there's more pith in the middle, so I've got to switch it out for another tool. If it starts getting too pithy and soft, it starts to do that. See how it just took a chunk out? Copper doesn't do that, as an example. Either the steel or aluminum or metals. Okay, so that's one of the differences between using natural tools and metals. Natural tools wear out faster. And those guys that don't have any problems with that, I don't know how they do it, because you're seeing it in real time on video. I have problems with wearing out my antlers quickly. And these are dry. Yeah, I make sure that this is... I turn on the space heater in my shop early to make sure that there's no moisture accumulation anywhere. I try not to run the space heater too long. It's like 2 hours before I start napping. I'll run the space heater, dry everything out in the shop. If I'm concerned about that. Right now, the humidity is not that bad, but it can get pretty high. I was surprised when I started paying attention to the humidity here in Vermont. I knew it was relatively high, but I didn't realize how high it could get. Sometimes it can get pretty high, even in winter. All right. But winter's usually good for keeping things dry. All right. I have to hit this really, really hard. And try to stay right on the edge of that cliff without falling off. Yes, yes. And hopefully we'll get in the zone and thin this piece down. Yes. Oh, I didn't do it. I should be doing it, but it's just eating the antler for lunch. Yes. It's not, it's going to need another sharpening here in a minute, probably.
Stop fussing, dude. It's not becoming. It's unbecoming. It's unbecoming of a gentleman and a napper.
If it's a pain, I can fuss. It's part of teaching you. Yeah. You must see the struggles. The struggles are real. Okay? If I don't show you the struggles and you have struggles, you're going to go,
he didn't have any struggles. I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah. It makes you think you're doing something wrong when you're not. If I pretend not to have any struggles, you're not going to know when it's difficult or when it's easy. Relatively speaking. Flintknapping is never easy, but it can be easier at times. I'll check the chat in a little bit, and hopefully I'll be able to answer that question about deltas. I tried answering it in just a brief 5 seconds because I wasn't sure how specific I needed to be. All right, so I'm going to take the pressure flaker to the edges to make them better. Yeah. All right, so the preliminary thinning is done. Any thinning after this is what I call secondary thinning or final thinning. This is the preliminaries. All right, the next round of thinning is the most difficult in all of Flintknapping. This wasn't that bad. It just gets harder and harder as it progresses. Okay? All right. More and more difficult is what I mean. Okay? Let me check the chat. And we'll do the inception thing. I missed that super chat. $1.99 from Marty. Thank you. Thank you. Also, I must have answered the deltas thing. Let's see. Let's see. Mr. Jim says, I can't nap when I'm stone cold sober. I really think it would go off the rails under the influence. Mitchell says, do you sell? If so, can I find it? I sell my stuff in the auctions every Monday. I have auctions on this channel every Monday. Danny Moore says, I thought deltas were where the little areas left on the edge in between sequential flakes. Well, as long as they're looking triangular, yes. But you're thinking about the guys that do flake over grind and their definition of deltas. There's two definitions of deltas, one for flake over grind people and one for regular people. Let's see. Bushy says my battery is about dead using phone charger for power. Yeah, just plug it in. Frodo Joe is Bushy. His nickname is Bushy. All right. Let's see. Jay says he can't wait till winter for winter to end. What happens if you use a grinder to shape it? Nothing. It's just faster if I use a grinder to shape. Well, are you talking about the stone or the tool? Because you can use a grinder to shape the stone and a grinder to shape the tool. And what happens is it makes it easier because it's faster. And if you have a nice smooth surface, if you use a grinder on the stone, it flakes with more consistency. I don't want to hear high temperatures at your house today, Jim. 84 degrees? Man. It's supposed to be like 8 degrees overnight here. And then it warms up again tomorrow. Warms up, it gets near 30 degrees. That's warming up for us right now. All right. Ed Gould says, you were talking of deltas. I found an old piece in a field in Oklahoma that was perfect, except it had a 1/4 inch high dime-sized delta on one face. Jim Cooper gave me $10 super chat. Let's see. For me, moving the angle closer to 90 degrees helps. This material likes to wrap around the edge and still travel well across a piece as part of how I get my pieces so thin with direct percussion. I see. This moving the angle closer to 90 degrees. Okay. Yeah, put it like a bevel on the edge that's pretty steep. Jared, $10 super chat. Thank you for all the things. Yeah, I finally put the like and the heart on there. Wow, Patrick has made like $100 super chat. Yeah, maybe. I don't know how much I've made in super chats. That would be awesome. Let's see. My deltas are accidental when 2 flakes converge, and I have to take a tiny flake to get the delta off. Danny Moore gave me $5. Thank you. You missed some super chats earlier at the beginning of the stream. Okay, let me see. Okay, that's the beginning, right? Or maybe it only goes back 30 minutes? I hope that's the beginning of the super chat. Beginning of the chat. Let me check. Sorry for you guys that are expecting only napping. I got to check the whole stream now. I don't see. Okay, I saw Marty's. I guess it doesn't go back all the way. Sorry about that. Okay. Hey, Jay Valadez, if you're still there, you need to send me your address. I need to ship your items out. You paid me, but I need to send your items out. Please, if you're still watching, Jay Valadez, okay, Jorge, if you're still watching, Jorge, please send me your address to my email. I can't ship your items without your address. Hopefully that wasn't too long ago and he's still on the live stream. Okay. Let me check to see what else. Okay, I see. Let's see. Have you ever found any arrowheads? Yeah, I have found some arrowheads myself. They were all broken, but they were still cool. Yes, but I only went out looking for arrowheads for maybe a month or two in my lifetime, specifically in a spot where there were actual Indian campsites, and I did find arrowheads. Let me make a correction. I did find a perfect arrowhead without any breakages, but only one. And it's either a, what do they call those? It looked like a large scalorn point. It was either an Ellis or something like that. I can't remember now, but it was a perfect arrowhead. So I did find one that was perfect. Do you know what the Indians used as the string on the bow? Yes, they used sinew, and usually backstrap sinew that was shredded like this. Okay? I have some videos on how to make a sinew bowstring. You just type in Jack Crafty sinew bowstring. Why I said like bowstring? I don't know. But yeah, they use sinew to make their bowstrings or rawhide in most cases. Now, in some cases, they also use plant fiber like yucca plant fiber or something similar that's strong. But for the most part, I would say 90% of the cases they used sinew for their bowstrings. And yeah, I'm going out on the limb and saying 90% because from what I've seen on artifacts, 90% of them are made with sinew. Okay. Backstrap sinew from elk or a large animal like bison. But you can also use leg sinew. I used leg sinew in my videos because it was cheaper at the time. All right. But if you want a strong bowstring, like 80-pound test for an 80-pound bow or more, you've got to use backstrap, in my opinion. It's much stronger. Let's see. Holy moly, that is pure finesse. Yeah, I wish I had pure finesse. A lot of times this stuff is just fortunate happenstance. But as you can see, it's not all nice. I do have a crunchy area. I'm going to try to get rid of that crunchy area once I get back to knapping. Okay? But yeah, this is the nasty side. I'll get back to that in a minute. Don't forget that turtleneck hide doesn't stretch like all those other things y'all just mentioned for cordage. I see. Alex says my indirect antler just wore out today. Yeah. Many such cases. All of my points are little thick bird points. I'm struggling to remove lumps near the middle. Yeah. Very common problem. Yes, yes. You just got to hit harder and take the risk. Later, Patrick, says Jared. Just wanted to jump on and give my support. Thank you, Jared. Have a good evening. Let's see. Oof, punishment incoming? Who's misbehaving? Flakesguard says, I love the smell of fresh ground antler in the evening. Small things make you happy there. Yeah. I wish I liked that smell. Does it smell like burning hair, says Jim? No, it smells a little bit better than that. Burning hair smells terrible. But it smells similar, yes, but it's not terrible. Let's see. None says, I want to... Oops. Come on. Don't do that. I want to harvest my own bow one day. Thanks for the help in ingredients. Oh, you're welcome. John says, I always imagine being posted up at some deposits. Does nap all day and have people bring you food and stuff for your points. Yeah. I would assume that sometimes that happens, but most of the time, everything's a struggle and you're doing a lot of things expediently and it's not organized. How do I know that these things are probably done expediently and not organized? Because nature is so unpredictable, and if you have children and a wife, that even compounds the unpredictability. And back in the day, if you don't have children, your tribe dies. All right, let's see. Ed says, my wife came in and asked if that was Jack Crappy again. Yeah, yep, that's me. You know it. Let's see. Diva Fever says, we have steel now, mate. Yes, we do. I've got lots of videos where I use steel for knapping. Mr. Jim says, branding cattle is the worst for me. It's in my nose for a couple of days afterwards. Yeah, I can't even imagine. You ever did a ballistic test between steel and chert, Diva? That'd be interesting to know. Let's see. Jack Wars antlers down, yeah. Let's see. I'm looking for questions, okay? And I'm looking for super chats that I missed. I found the outer darker part of the antler is harder. Yes. I sharpen mine so that I can rest that part on the stone. Yeah, that is good. I end up doing that. Once it gets too pithy in the middle, I end up favoring one side. Yeah, it starts to snap, though. It starts to break more than before. Once I start favoring the harder outer shell, it does start breaking more. So the best part of the antler is like the upper 2 inches. And once you eliminate the upper 2 inches of a large antler tine, it gets pretty difficult to continue with it, in my opinion. Let me see here. What do you miss? You missed a lot if you're just joining us now. I'm thinning this piece of dacite down. I'm going to make an arrowhead out of it if I have time. I still have an hour left, yeah. Dacite tonight? Yes, dacite. It seems like I only have time to make one arrowhead from one type of material per night, the way it's going. How is this working? It's working okay. I still have to get used to the dacite. It's difficult to get used to with the antler. It doesn't like the antler at all. It doesn't mind the copper when I use copper on it, but the antler, yeah. How's my day going? It's going good as long as I don't break this. If I break this on video, my day is going to go down the tubes. Pygmy or Pygma? Or, yeah, Pygma Squatch? My dad in the latter dementia stages, he took a bunch of arrowheads him and his dad found and started making arrowheads from them. It was sad, but he was having fun. Yeah, don't alter the artifacts if you can. I mean, if you can't do anything about someone doesn't know what he's doing, but you know, it's not good to alter the artifacts because you lose a lot of history. Let's see. You can't fly with the owls, okay. All right, so I think I've gone through all the messages. I see, yeah. My dad also had dementia before he passed, but he was also not able to move, so he wasn't. It was a sad situation because he used to actually do a lot of woodworking as a hobby. So he couldn't do that in the last 10 years of his life. So he basically just watched news all day. Where's my pad? Yeah, my dad would just sit and watch TV all day before he passed. He used to be a very accomplished woodworker. I got all the tools. I haven't set them up at the house yet. He's got all of his tools at his old house in storage. I did borrow some of them. I brought a couple of tools, like a drill press, with me to this house. This is just a tiny house that I am living in. He had two houses, one big one and one small one. He ended up living in the small one after he was not able to move around very much. He couldn't climb stairs anymore. That kind of thing. So yeah, I'm living in that house now, the small one, in Vermont. I was in Texas for a long time. That's where all my kids and my ex-wife is. Yeah. Well, not all my kids, but most of them. They were all born in Texas, but they're not all still there. They're all grown up now. I think my youngest is 22. I have 4 girls and 2 boys. Anyways, I'm going back to Texas in the spring to go to a Knapping. So I try to go back once or twice a year. I might only be able to go back once this year coming up, because this Christmas season was very busy for me, and I have a feeling this next Christmas season is going to be even more busy. So I'm not going to be able to go anywhere for the second half of the year. I got to stay put and work and do a lot of projects. Yeah, but they're not on the side. I'm doing projects that I need to get done for the auctions. I eventually want to offer more of a variety of things in my auctions, and also go to set up vendor booths at the Knappings I go to, and also start going to craft shows and selling some of my stuff at craft shows. Yeah. Let's see how that goes. If it's too much work, then I'll shift my business to something else. Right now, my business is the Flintknapping stuff. If it doesn't work out, or if it's too much work, or if it's if the dust starts getting to me, not that it's getting to me right now, I just have some congestion. But yeah, I can't be doing Flintknapping forever because I'm worried about the dust. That's one bad thing. Let's see. Anyways, I'm just chit-chatting right now so I can distract myself from this process. If I think about this process too much, I'll mess it up. I also need to drink some water. I didn't bring any water. So this little pressure flaker is made from a deer antler beam with the brow tine, the first tine on the white-tailed deer antler. It's the strongest tine on the whole antler. So it's good for pressure flaking, and I like to make this style of pressure flaker. It's unusual, yes, but I realize that a lot of my Flintknapping and my Flintknapping tools is unusual. Yeah. I had to develop my own style because trying to copy other people's styles on YouTube didn't work for me. Some of them did. Some of the styles I've picked up from other people. But I focus mainly on freestyle. I don't use leg pads, so I use freehand or freestyle knapping and a lot of indirect percussion. So I use freehand knapping without leg pads and indirect percussion a lot, and with smaller tools, smaller pressure flakers, smaller hammerstones, smaller work pieces. Okay. All right. So what do we got? This is actually pressure flaking well. Yeah. I don't have any complaints on the pressure flaking on this dacite. I like it, actually. It's pressure flaking well, so I might be able to do some good things with the pressure flaking. To smooth out the surface. And I don't use a slotted pad normally with my natural tools, although I can. I just haven't done it. I need to make another pad, I guess, with a slot in it. But I can usually raise the surface of the workpiece above the pad because it's domed. See that? It's domed in every direction. It's convex. So that I don't bridge it. So it's not bridged. So there's no contact with the ends when I'm pressure flaking. Because if there's contact with the ends, I call that bridging, and it creates a bridge. And if you push in the middle, it snaps the whole thing. I've snapped many points that way. So that's another thing about my knapping being unusual, is that I use domed pads and not flat pads for these palm pads. I use domed. Okay?
They're all domed. Not doomed, domed. Yeah. Although sometimes maybe I am doomed. Okay. So these are running okay, these flakes. Yes, I'm very happy with that. Nothing worse than having issues with the pressure flaking. No, there's very few things that are worse than that. If you can't do pressure flaking, it just becomes so much more difficult to get the edges right and to get it sharpened. Yeah. I used to complain about sandstones for abrading because they wear out too fast and they're not that effective compared to a hard hammer stone cracked in half and you use a flat area for an abrading stone. This abrades it, I think, better, but you can also use sandstone, and I'm not as critical anymore about saying that sandstone really is pretty bad for abrading. I've learned to use it. Yeah, this is a sandstone, but it's kind of a harder grade sandstone. It's not too crumbly. I've got some really crumbly sandstone. Some people like it really crumbly. I don't. I like it firm and not very crumbly. All right. Anyways, just so you know what I'm using. And this is a brow tine pressure flaker white-tailed deer antler. Okay. Yeah, that one was ground down a little bit too much. And yeah, the dacite is a little bit crunchy. And on this channel, I have nicknames for stuff, so I call it Captain Crunch when it starts to get crunchy. And sometimes the pad will interfere with the flake travel and cause a little crunch or a step fracture. Yes, I do admit to that, but it's okay. I don't care. I'll live with a little bit of steppiness. And yeah, it does need to be ground down a little bit, even with this pressure flaker, that you can probably still knap it even though it's got a sharp edge. But I'm trying to drive flakes inward, so I need a little more force than usual. So that's why I'm grinding the edge. But you don't really need to grind the edge all that much in a general sense with the Antler pressure flakers. As long as you're getting a nice popping sound. It's too hot now. As long as you're getting a nice popping sound with the pressure flaking, you're doing good, even if the edge is sharp. Okay, so I'll be pressure flaking this lumpy area, see if I can get that flat with pressure. If not, I'll have to percussion it. So it's going to require a lot of pressure to get that flat, because the flakes have to be relatively thick, which requires a lot of force. So here we go. A lot of force time. And I might have to switch to a larger flaker if I've got a larger flaker. But I might still be able to do it with this. We'll see. So that was what I call a heavy pressure flake. See how big that is? And it's not that difficult to do with dacite or obsidian. To do that large of a flake with pressure is difficult on chert, but with dacite and obsidian, it's not. Okay, so just make sure you know the difference. If you're working with chert and you're trying to do big old pressure flakes like that, it's not going to work very well unless you're a really strong guy. Then it works fine. I'm not a big guy, so the force that I'm using is about average for strength. Okay. So did I flatten it? I flattened it kind of. Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to switch to percussion down here, though, because I need much bigger flakes for this thick area. And it does have a slight curve to it. So I'll be removing this, and I'll be removing some of this to try to get it straight. Yeah, to straighten it out. Yeah. And I can use direct percussion. I can do this. Or I can use the indirect percussion flaker. I'm going to try the indirect first and see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll try to bill it. And if that doesn't work, then I'm up a creek without a paddle. Yeah. I'll have to keep it thick. Nobody wants that. It's going to eat the antler. Oh well. We'll sacrifice the antler for thinness, in the name of thinness. Did it do it? I want a nice smooth flake with no Captain Crunch. Still Captain Crunch. Yeah, I just took that flake right there. There's still plenty of Captain Crunch right there. Dang it. I might get it from the other side. If I'm lucky. We'll see. If not, I'm just going to have to live with that crunchy stuff in the middle. Did it do it? Yeah, I'm still getting the crunchy stuff. It's not clearing it away. Yeah. Like I said earlier, it wants me to strike it way too hard. Let's see, I might be able to push some of those flakes off. Yes or no? No. I'm going to have to hit it a lot harder than I'm hitting it right now. Yeah, which I don't want to do because look how thin it is. But I'm going to have to hit it harder. The reason why they're not traveling is because I'm not hitting it hard enough. I know from experience, yeah. Because I'm holding back. I am holding back on how hard I'm hitting because I don't want to break this. Okay? All right. Okay, come on. You can tell I'm hitting hard because it's depositing antler on the edge. It's chewing up my antler. Come on, did you do it? Are we still getting Captain Crunch? Yeah. It's still crunchy. It's still crunching even with a huge hit because it doesn't like that inward force. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get all that off from the other side, but I'm going to make it more narrow so that I can make these flakes travel past halfway. Yeah. So I'm going to take some of this side off. And it will create kind of a bevel. But it's a drastic measure because with a steep bevel and a low edge, I can overshoot it. And I don't want to overshoot it. I do not want to overshoot it at any time, at any point, or even risk it. Because it ruins the whole piece. Okay. Okay. We'll get it. One of these times. Not that one. That one's not working. That one's either too dull or just not going to work. How about that one? How about that? Yes? No? Maybe? Sometimes? Yeah, we're getting crunchies. I don't know about you. And it's not because this side's good and that side's bad. I think it's all consistent. It's just the fact that I want to run thin flakes, and it doesn't like to run thin flakes. I might have to use some copper to get that cleaned up. Yeah. Instead of risking all these hits and ending up with a nasty mess, I should probably just clean it off with copper. Yeah. With a copper flaker. Because the amount of force I need to clean this off is getting ridiculous. I'm going to try one more time with another flake here, yes, but if it doesn't work, if I don't get a large flake, I'm going to switch over to copper just to clean that up. Okay? And the solution to this with natural tools is just to make it more and more narrow until I can run flakes through there. Eventually it'll work, but it's going to get more and more narrow, which makes it weaker and weaker, so you increase the chances of breaking it in half. I'm going to try for one big flake now. One more big flake and see if it goes. If not, I'll switch to copper just to clean that up. No, it did not do it. It doesn't want to do the thin flake thing. Not with the big fat Antler tool. No. It doesn't want to do it. All right, so now I've got to switch brains. Let's get this cleaned up. Switch brains to the copper knapping because I want it nice and thin. See, if I was back in the day making this and I couldn't get it any thinner than this, I would just leave it. But for the video, I want to make it thinner. This is a limit of my ability as far as thinness goes with the Antler on this particular piece. Where's the ruler? Let's see what the ratio is. See what my limit is. 35 millimeter by 6 millimeter. So that's like 6:1. So with crunchiness, that's my limit on this particular material. 6:1 with a bunch of crunchies in the middle. Let's see if I can get it thinner with some copper. Did they have copper back in the day to make arrowheads with? The answer is yes. We just don't know how widespread it was. We know they used it in the Great Lakes area. For sure. We have artifacts that are copper Flintknapping tools. But in other areas they're more rare, and they usually show up as, the tools anyway, show up as awls and drills, maybe. Little celts, perhaps. But we don't know if they were used for Flintknapping or something else. So I'm just going to focus and run some flakes here. With my other brain that uses copper. It's a different skill. This next flake is going to be tough. Let's see. Let me see if I can pick off some of that with a steel. Steel can focus the energy much better than with an Antler tool like this. Like I tried an Antler tool earlier to pick those out, and it wasn't strong enough, but the steel can get in there and pick a lot of that mess out of there. So I'm just pushing on the face of those step fractures, and it is clearing some of that out. And the flatter it gets, the better for this next series of flakes. Until I can clean that up. Then we'll switch back to the natural tools. Okay, so that's what that Captain Crunch looks like right now. And my job is to clean that off, make it nice and smooth, which is going to be a challenge, but it's okay. I'm still using the stone abrader. I'm going to use the copper to try to clean that up. Okay. Why does copper work better? Because it can focus the energy a lot better in one little area, and then it doesn't lose energy as it travels. You know, as the flaker travels, it doesn't lose energy. Whereas with Antler, it's kind of spongy, so when it kind of compresses a little bit first, and then it gets really dense when it compresses. But as it travels, it gets less dense, so it loses energy in the travel. It loses energy in the compression in the beginning, and when it's uncompressing, it loses energy in the travel. But the copper doesn't have any of those issues. Now, the physics might not be perfect because I don't think I understand the physics completely, but I think that's what's happening. The Antler is very compressive, and it loses energy. Okay, where is my picker? There it is. I'll try to pick some of this out. Yeah. Now some knappers have said that you can get a longer range on the flakes with Antler than you can with copper or a metal, right? It produces longer flakes. It does if you are maintaining a lot of force in the follow through. The key is the follow through. You don't need as much follow through with copper. If you have a lot of follow through with Antler, yeah, you can produce a longer flake. But it has to do mainly with the follow through. Okay, not the properties. You're compensating for the properties of the Antler when you follow through. And yeah, it can produce a long flake. But you can also produce long flakes with copper. Yeah. Now, some say that Antler works better. Yeah, it might work better for them. That is true. It might work better for them. But I haven't found it works better for me. So that's good enough. I'm going to switch back to natural tools. Okay? So there's still going to be a little bit of steppiness. I suppose I can continue and maybe clean that up a little bit more. Maybe one more strike. Maybe. Yeah. Let's see. I'll switch back to natural tools here. I got to finish this up in 25 minutes, so I might not look at the chat as much as I should. All right, let's see. Go back to the pressure flaking. Yes, yes. The tip now is too thick. I need to taper down the tip. Here we go. As long as I get clean snaps, it'll work. Yes, yes. Yeah. Nice. I'm able to get these flakes to travel into the middle, which is nice. Yep, yep. I'm going to move the edge this way so I can remove some of this area here. And eventually straighten out that tip from the side view because it looks like it's developing a bit of a curve. Well, it doesn't look that way too much anymore, but it can with the, if I take stuff off the middle like I just did, it can create a curved area. I've got to make sure that doesn't happen. That's not good. We got Captain Crunch. Yes, we do. On the edge this time. Could be because this is getting all nasty. Here we go. Nice big flake. Yes, yes. All right, so we can achieve the big flakes. Then a smaller one. Let's see if we can get another big one without breaking this. No. Maybe? Yes. So yeah, good. Let's switch sides a little bit and see. We got to keep this nice and symmetrical. So I just did a series of flakes there. And yeah, I think the pad caused some steppiness. But it's past halfway. I can probably, these steps are on this side of the halfway mark. They're on this side of the halfway mark. I can probably get rid of those. Because if they weren't past halfway, the pad might interfere with trying to get rid of those. You know what I mean? You see what I mean? Okay. Yeah, like that. Although it is kind of crunchy still. Maybe I didn't grind it enough. Here we go. Let's see. See if I can get this nice smooth flake. It kind of crunched a little bit before, but it was too late. I couldn't stop. Anyway, it crunched a little bit with the initial force, which means it wasn't ground down enough. For the amount of force I'm using. Yeah, come on. Ground down too much. Yes. So I just took that flake off. Yeah, it looks all right. It looks all right. Yeah, let's try. I can try to do a little damage control with the pressure flaking. If I was pushing a little harder, I might have been able to drive a flake into that mess, but it's dangerous because it can just get worse. If you try to pressure flake into something that's steppy, sometimes it just gets more steppy. So I'll live with what I've got. Yeah. Let me go to a smaller pressure flaker and see if that works for this tippity tip. All right. Yes. Come on, I can do it. I know I can do it. Smaller pressure flaker tip. Yes. There it goes. Yeah. Like that. Let's see if I can do this with downward pressure. I don't need to thin that tip anymore. I was driving flakes inward. I might do just one or two more with force that's directing into the middle. Yeah, like that. I can't do that too much on the tip because sometimes it overshoots. So I use a lot of downward force to do the finishing flakes, so I don't overdo it. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Good. One more pass. See, I did this side, I did that side, I did this side, now I got to do that side. 4 different passes. Now, if I'm beveling, it's different. There's only 2 different passes. But I'm doing this bifacially. So I'm getting ready for that last pass. And if you don't know what beveling is, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. Not for this anyway. I'll do another video on beveling. So I'm looking to see where the flakes go. I want them to go toward the middle. Yes. See, I just took a little flake first and then a bigger one. I need to take one more little one up here because it's still fat on this side. Still got some fatness there. And yeah, it's persnickety. Oh well. I like to be persnickety on the tip. And as long as I don't get too carried away, it works. Hopefully I don't get a bunch of crunchy spots. All right. No, I gotta worry about cutting myself as well, because the edge is starting to get sharp. Yeah, like that. See, I just did that flake and then that flake, and they're all different amount of force, slightly different angles, slightly different edges. It's not all the same pressure all the way down. Each flake has its own challenges and requirements when it's a random surface. If it's a very smooth surface with no weirdness or imperfections, then you can do this pretty much the same every time. But the way I do it with random flaking, everything following the initial flaking is all random too. These pressure flakes are not all the same. Now, right now they are, because they're pretty much the same. I'm just using downward pressure to take back this edge. I'm ruining my flaker, but I'm just using mainly downward pressure to move the edge this way so I can do a pass on this side. See that? This is kind of fat right here. So I got to run flakes across to get it thinner. Because we're going to go for thinness, right? Yes? How do they do thinness back in the day? Just like we do now. First on the list is lots of pain and suffering. Second on the list is proper preparation. Yeah. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. We learned that in the military. And it applies to Flintknapping. But it doesn't prevent poor performance all the time. Because knapping is a game of chance. It is a game. It's like a sport. Okay? All right. Switch to a larger flaker. I'm going to be doing pressure flakes that are larger so that I don't break the tip. Make sure I grind it enough because I wasn't grinding it enough before on some of these. And let's see if we can get some good flakes. Each flake is different requirements for each flake. So every time I take one, I've got to look, see what it did, and learn from that. Try to apply it to the next one. The next surface is slightly different, so the flake's going to be slightly different. And as you get used to it, you can be faster and faster. And it seems like you're doing the same kind of flaking and same kind of pressure to a observer, but you're not. Okay? Everything's different. I think I said that enough. That one, this one's a lot more force than that one. That was a lot of force to try to get that to travel. Because I knew it needed to travel far if I wanted to make this area look better. So that did. This flake here did contribute to cleaning that out, whatever that was in there. So this flake, even though it looks like the same amount of pressure, this has a lot more pressure on this side. Even though it scooped it out the same pretty much, I did a lot more pressure with this one. Okay? All right. I wanted it to go further. It kind of went further, but not much further. That one was not as much. That was not as much pressure as that one. You know, it's decreasing in pressure as I go up the blade anyway, just as a matter of physics. I don't need as much pressure as I go up the blade. Now this one I did use a lot of pressure because it has a lump I wanted to get rid of. Same with this next one, a lot of pressure to try to reduce that lump. I don't need to use a lot of pressure to get it to go halfway, but I want it to go a little bit past halfway. Yeah. And there's a lump there, so I need that also requires more pressure. Okay. But in general, the pressure decreases as you go toward the tip. But it's not always the case. All right? I just want to let you know. Okay? All right. That edge is still not, it's not looking that great. So, yeah, I could tell there was a weak spot. So I'm going to use a pressure flaker to remove any weak spots or weak edges. Yeah, and then try to drive a flake into there. All right, let's see. Yeah, it was weak still. All right, that should be strong enough. Let's see. Did it do it? Wish I could hold those flakes. But that was a lot of pressure. That was about the same amount of pressure as the big one down here. These two are the same The ones in between are less. So that one was a lot of pressure to get that to thin down. Yeah. Okay. I think it did it. To my satisfaction. Almost. Yeah. And on it goes. On and on we go. And where we end up, nobody knows. I'm going to try to end up with something that looks good. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. No. Yeah, not too shabby. Not too shabby. Are we doing it? Starting to lose a little bit too much of the edge, so I got to stop. See that? Yeah. We're going to have to be satisfied with that. It's starting to get too thin for me to be doing these pressure flakes with a lot of force. Yeah. I'm going to have to be satisfied with that amount of thinness. Let's see if I can do one more. Yeah, that's good enough. So I did this one, and it took off too much, but I needed that one more to get it more evenly tapered. That's good enough. Yeah, good enough. All right, so then let's finish the pressure flaking for now. It still needs one more pass to sharpen it after I do this. Excuse me. But yeah, this should be it for the pressure flaking for the most part. Okay. Yeah, I'll need to sharpen that up a little bit more. Maybe I can take a few more pressure flakes there. Yeah. Hold on a second. See, after I took back the edge a little bit, I can see that it's dipping down here, and there's a lump I can remove. Like right there, a little bit. I can drive a flake into there where it's kind of crunchy. Maybe. If I'm close enough, I should be able to do it. If I grind it back a little bit more. Just because we want to be really, really persnickety. Yes. Do I take it back? Yeah, let's take it back a little bit more. The closer you are to the obstacle, the better. So the closer I get to that obstacle, the better without removing too much of that edge. So I want to maintain my symmetry. I don't want a big old section taken out there. There's going to be a little bit taken out with this next pressure flake, but hopefully not too much. Yeah, like that. Let's see. Are we set? Are we ready? Take a deep breath so I don't hold my breath. Yes. Did we do it? I think we did some of it. Yeah, see, that was right into that Captain Crunch, and I think it did it for the most part. Yeah. I can live with that. Yes, yes. Okay, we can move on. So the most difficult part of Flintknapping is done. Yes. Final thinning. Now I just gotta notch it. Okay. Do a little happy dance. Okay. I'm doing a little happy dance in my brain. Okay, so let's see. Let me see if I can find a foreshaft for this. Okay. That does not fit. Although I probably have to take some of that thickness off of there, but I don't want to. I want to leave it thick because it's dacite. If I really wanted to use it, it needs to be nice and thick. That one works. Although that's a little bit too big. And that's too big. This one? No, too small. Where is a good one? How about this? No. That's not that. I'm running out of options here. That's too thick for that one. That would look good. Dang it. How about that? How about that? Yeah, that works. Okay, so I've got to make the stem fit this one. Yeah. Yikes. I heard something snap. I don't know if it was the wood or the point. See, when you do the hafting, sometimes it'll snap some of the edge off. Anyways, I do need to make it slightly thinner so it fits well in this foreshaft. Okay. We'll see how it goes. Do I have any other options? It's too loose for this one. Oh, no, being loose isn't bad. I might actually use this one instead. That way I don't have to worry about thinning it down. And I can make the stem wider. Yeah. Let's use that one. Okay. I'll make the notches match the width on this foreshaft. Okay? All right. I knew you would agree. Now I got to figure out what notches I'm going to use. Let's make it nice and symmetrical first. I'm going to hurry because it's already 10. We're supposed to be done with the live stream. I'm supposed to have everything done by now. But I took a little bit of extra time making sure that I got all the crunchy spots removed. I even used some copper percussion on it. Cheated. I cheated. Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm using at ladle dart foreshafts for these larger Flintknappings. Yeah, this is a ladle dart foreshaft. Okay, so I made it symmetrical. I symmetrized it pretty much. So now we can put the notches in. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know yet what I'm going to do for notches yet. Hold on. I usually do corner notches. Probably do the same with this one. I'm working on the symmetry. Hold on a second. Before I start the notches, I got to make sure my symmetry is okay. I got this thing where it looks different each time I flip it. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure the bottom of this is nice and strong so it doesn't break when I try to haft it or when I'm adjusting it. There's nothing more annoying than when you're doing this, you're trying to adjust it and you hear crackling and snapping because you're breaking off little pieces at the bottom of the notch. So I thinned it a little bit and now it's a little bit loose, but that's okay. So the symmetry is there. Now I'm just going to put the notches in. Yeah. I'm just going to eyeball these notches, corner notched. Probably make it look like an Elko style. Yes, yeah. I had my notcher. I had my favorite notcher already ready. Nope, it's not ready. It's too dull. I've got to sharpen it. Hold on. It got dull from the last one. All right, there we go. Yes, yes. It's just simple corner notches. Okay, so we got the notcher. I call it a pistol grip notcher, same as the pressure flaker in basic design. Small, no fuss, no muss, just a lot of grinding to make these white-tailed deer antler tools. Nothing complicated, although I am going to make some what they call composite tools that require a wooden handle. Those work pretty well too. Pressure flaking or notching, yeah. And the Ishii sticks are in that category. The composite tools. Wood handle with antler tips. So I'm just going to crunch in these notches. Just pop out flakes with pressure. Like that. Sometimes heavy pressure to get a nice big pop out. But I can't do that too often. Especially on that side or obsidian. Because it could blow out either the ear down here or the barb. We all know how that goes. Nice little pop out flakes. Let's see if. Yeah, okay. I don't want to create a bunch of step fracturing when I'm doing this. I want nice pop outs. Okay, all right. Here we go. I want nice pop outs like that. With no step fracturing around the notch. How do you get those? Unfortunately, you have to use, you have to have a lot of experience, right, and use a very well-shaped tool. Yeah. It's persnickety. Yep. You have to do a lot of notching to get used to it. And the grip, it's got to be firm with no extraneous movements. And you can't be doing too much follow through because you'll hit the sides or something bad will happen if you have too much follow through. It's got to be just pop the flake out and that's it. It's not like working on the sides up here where there's a lot of follow through in many cases. There's not much follow through on these notches. It's barely any. Just enough to not knock those flakes out. And I'm dulling the inside of the notch for the next flake so it doesn't crush. And you can only go so narrow. See, I don't have much room. I can make this thinner, but it breaks when I make it thinner. But you can do it. It just requires, breaking a few of these in your attempts to do this. Now you can listen to some of these guys in the comment sections and say you could use a deer ulna bone to do these, and that gives you more room. But I find that these break easy. And if you're doing the notching and this breaks, sometimes it shifts to the side, one side or the other when it breaks, and it knocks off the barb or the ear. So I want to use one that's not going to break. Antler is stronger than bone for notching. Okay, that's why I'm using Antler. Otherwise, I would use that deer ulna bone. Do I ever use that deer ulna bone? Yeah, on more delicate points. Not at little dart points like this. Okay. Or if I want to sharpen, I guess, I can use the deer ulna bone. Something that doesn't require a lot of force. Dang it, that one didn't do it. Better not stall this. Trying to explain too much. It's going okay, but it's starting to get me worried that it's going to stall. I'm going to widen the notch a little bit because this next flake is going to require a lot of force. And again, with lots of force, you lose accuracy, so you risk hitting the sides with a lot of force in the bottom of the notch because it's starting to stall. I don't want it to stall. So I'm going to use a lot of force to pop that out and take the risk. You're not supposed to use a lot of force at the bottom of these notches as they go in. Nope. What I did was I hit that barb. See that? So now I got to trim that, which is okay. I was not able to pop out the bottom of that notch, but I hit the barb and knocked the tip of the barb off. But what that will do is allow me to borrow some material from the side. Maybe I can thin out the bottom of the notch by sneaking up on it. Let's see. So I'm repairing that barb by stealing some from the side. Which widens the notch, yes. I should have probably done this side, or I probably should have did this side before the other side because this side was thicker. I should have done the thicker side first. See how much wider that one is? Okay, come on. I can use a punch for this also. But with punches, I have a tendency to really do a lot of damage. I'm still doing damage. I popped the end of that barb off. The flake curled out. See that? We'll just keep going. And we'll make it symmetrical later. But yeah, if I had done this side first, if I had looked, I could have seen that, see, this side's thicker than that side. See that? Just that slight more thickness, the slight increase in thickness on this side made all the difference as far as the narrowness of that notch. You can only go so narrow in many cases before it'll stall. But everything's okay because I'm going to make everything symmetrical. Yeah. Yeah. Still got room. Did it pop it out? Yes. Okay. All right, so the potential is you can get it that narrow, but it's got to be thin. You can get it that narrow, but the material has to be thin, right? So I should have probably started on that side to get a notch going on this side first, because it's easier to match when you end with the thinner side. I was trying to get this narrowness with this thicker side, which doesn't work well, as you can see. All right. Now I can leave it asymmetrical like they did on the artifacts. A lot of times you'll see the notches are different on the artifacts. But for the video, I'm not going to do that. No. Okay. Now I'll go over my time. I'll check the chat here in a minute. Once I get these notches symmetrical. Okay, so I use a lot of pressure in there, and I got that good pop out, luckily, without having it curl up. I aimed it more this way, which is dangerous because I aimed it right toward the other notch, but I didn't want to aim it too far up this way because it'll curl out like it did on the other side. See that? So the flake went more this way than that way. You get what I mean? Hopefully, it depends on the direction of your flaking. I mean, your direction of your flaking can make a big difference. All right, so I can leave the base like this, or I can put a notch in the base. I think that's good enough as far as the width of the neck. The neck is the distance across here. The neck is narrow enough to match that haft, the foreshaft and the hafting. Yeah. Okay. So now it's just sharpening time, and then I'll lash it onto that foreshaft. So let's get some sinew. Get it ready by putting in water. I don't put the sinew in my mouth. Nope, nope. Because you never know where the sinew has been or what's been growing on it, especially out in the wild. I mean, in our modern convenient homes, we don't have to worry too much about bacteria. But if you want to know how they did it back in the day, I don't think they put it in their mouths very often. There are stories where they would chew on the sinew, but I think that they didn't chew on it. They just let it soak in their mouths, for one, and then number two, they had full control over every stage of the sinew processing. So as long as you're careful, you're okay. But I don't take the risk. I did not kill that particular elk that the sinew came from. And by elk, I mean elk and not moose. There's a difference in the between European and American elk. Elk, it means moose in Europe, in case you didn't know. Or it can get confused when you're having a discussion. I'm not sure what they call elk in Europe. What we call elk here, I don't know what they call that in Europe. I forgot. I was going to check the chat, wasn't I? So what I'm doing now is I'm just sharpening the edge that was dull. And it's sharp. Yes, it is. How do you sharpen? You just take little flakes. You don't need big flakes to sharpen it. And I can tell it's sharp because I'm starting to bleed already by just barely touching the edges. The tip, I think I already finished the tip. Now I can put a notch in the bottom of this to make it look like an elko. Should I do that? I'm just making it more symmetrical. Yes. So I can put a notch in the bottom of this, make it look more like an elko. But because it's getting late, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to tie it on here with some sinew. Okay, so it's soaking in the water. I'm going to use modeling clay for the glue because I'm going to eventually sell this point. I don't want to mess it up with a bunch of pine pitch or asphaltum glue or whatever. What I prefer to use is asphaltum glue. This is asphaltum mixed with gum base. This is what I normally use. I have other blocks of glues. These are not pine pitch. These are mixtures of asphaltum. I think this is a mixture of asphaltum and modern glue, modern hot melt. This is pure asphaltum, straight from the beach in California. I was sent this blob. I cut a little piece out for glue earlier. I had another piece that I melted down, and that's what this came from. And this one here is a mix. I think this is, I don't remember the mix on this one, but I think this is mostly modern hot melt glue with a little bit of asphaltum. But that's what I prefer to use, asphaltum-based glues. I do also have pine pitch glues, but I prefer the asphaltum base, and I just broke the tip off. All right. Anyways, we'll repair that in a minute. So I'm going to use modeling clay to simulate the glue. Okay? All right. Note to self, don't put the glue right in front where you're doing the filming. I mean, not the glue. I broke the barb off too. Don't put your water in front while you're filming because you can drop the point on it. Yeah, because it's volcanic glass and it breaks. Okay. Now we got to symmetrize it and fix it. And it just went down in value by $10. Yeah. It's okay. That happens out in the field too, especially when I use these. Or I tried to use these before for hunting, but I stopped because they would break out in the field, and that would get me so angry that I stopped using stone out in the field for hunting. So I'll stick with firearms, but these can be used for hunting. Yes, this particular one also. It's sharp enough. Just got to repair it because I dropped it. Okay. Dude, I'm waiting for you to haft it. Come on. No, I got to repair it. That's the way it goes. I dropped this. I was going to say stupid thing, but yeah. I got to make those barbs pointy. Or pointier. There are artifacts that have the clipped barbs, and that's probably why they're clipped on some of them, because they break off easy. Okay. Let me see. Where are we? Here we are. The tip's already repaired. Yes? Yeah, good enough. It's just these sides that I got to resharpen and thin down again. Yep. What is that noise? Alrighty. It's looking better or not? No. I liked it better before, but oh well. And the drop really messed this side up. So why would you want sharp barbs on them? Well, it causes more bleeding, I think, right? But it just makes it look better. More deadly to have sharp barbs. It looks more deadly, and probably is, in general. Okay, so am I done with that? Yeah. Yeah, the people that were waiting for the hafting left. I bet you. Taking too long. But you get to see how I repair it after I've dropped it. Right, the repair doesn't look as great as the original. Yeah. Oh well, we'll just leave it. I'm starting to get Captain Crunch on there because I'm going too fast. All right, so we'll just leave it. Everything's good. Yeah. All right. So let's take the modeling clay and finish this. So a little bit at the bottom of the notch. It's got to get warm. It's too cold in here. It's all right. So when you're using natural glues, you'll heat it up like a hot melt. Or you can also use other glues that don't require hot melt. But it's best to use the hot melt because it doesn't shrink as it cools. Other glues that are water-based or whatever, they'll shrink and they'll cause gaps. But with a hot melt, it doesn't shrink. It doesn't cause gaps. And it's also waterproof in many cases. Now you can use other substances as hot melt, like sugar, believe it or not. You can melt sugar and use sugar as glue. Works the same. If you heat the sugar up with a lot of water content, yeah, it's gonna cause gaps as it cools. But you can still use it, or in a pinch. I was thinking of other things that you can use besides pine pitch, and you can use table sugar, cane sugar or whatever, or sugar from other plants. Or you can use plants that contain lots of sugar. Just grind them all up and then heat them up, and make a hot melt out of your sugary stuff. Anyways, this is supposed to simulate like resin glue or pine pitch glue or rosin or asphaltum glue, okay? There would normally be a lot more in the joint, but I'm just pretending that that's what it is. That this is some sort of hot melt. Okay, and of course you would use water on your fingers when you're applying the hot melt so you don't burn yourself and so it doesn't stick to your fingers. Okay, so now that the glue is in place, let's wrap it. This is elk sinew, like I said earlier. Maybe you missed it, but this is elk backstrap sinew. Large pieces, relatively large pieces. Now, a lot of times I'll go over the top. What happened here? Oh well. A lot of times I'll go up over the top of the wood, but in this case I'm not going to. Because the foreshaft, it's being cut on this. The foreshaft already has like cutouts. No. It's got that indentation on either side that will hold the sinew here in the middle. If I go over the top, it'll get too bulky. Anyways, let's do this again. The sinew got cut as I tried the first time on the inside of the notches. So here we go again. Let's just start over with this one. I don't have to pull tight with sinew. I keep forgetting I don't have to pull tight. Just wrap it and it'll shrink. If I pull too tight, it cuts the sinew. If the inside of the notch is sharp, which these are. This is obsidian, or a version of obsidian. It's dacite, but it's still sharp like obsidian. not quite as sharp as the more clear version of obsidian, or less grainy, I should say. And you can see how this flattens out. Go at least once around before I go back up. And then back down and go at least once around again before I go back up. And then come back down right away. This is how I lash these on there. Let's see, can we use what we started with? Yeah, let's use this piece. This piece I got cut earlier. And the sinew will stick to itself, but it is also good to use glues on this part too, to get, as you're doing the final wrap, to get the sinew to stick and not unravel. But see, you can see that it sticks to itself even just with water. So that's how I would wrap that one. Okay. And then you warm it up over a fire, not too close. It'll dry the sinew, and as it dries, it shrinks, and the hot melt gets soft. So everything kind of sets in place really well together. As you warm the sinew to dry it, the glue becomes softer. Everything squeezes together, and then you've got to align the tip as it dries or before it cools. And the way you check is you hold a foreshaft like this, brace it, and see if the tip is stationary as you spin it. It's not stationary, so it's a little bit off. I think it's a little bit off. See, that tip has got to be stationary as you spin it. Okay? There it is. That's how it looks. Now, when it dries, it'll be more yellowish. It's wet right now, so. Yeah, elk backstrap sinew. And I pre-shaped this foreshaft to hold that sinew in there better up here. And so that transition is smooth. See how the wood is right at the same level as the sinew there? I carved that wood so that that sinew would sit down in that depression. So you get the same level, and it's a smooth transition. Now you can put more glue up here to make it even smoother. Okay. All right. So that's it. I'm going to check the chat, and then I'm calling it a night. And I apologize for dropping it. That was frustrating. I dropped it earlier in case you just joined us, and I had to take back the barbs a lot, and I had to reshape the tip a little bit. Okay? But at least you got to see how I resharpened it or fixed it. What's in the chat? Jim Main says, great point, Patrick. Thank you, thank you. All right. Looks cool. Thank you, thank you. Let's see if I can get it to stay in view. Okay. With a good background. All right, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to check the chat and I'm going to call it a night. Okay? All right. Can we see how the arrowhead looks? Yes? Maybe? All right, let's see. The foreshaft and point can stay inside your target without ruining your arrow shaft after retrieving it. Yes, yes. The main shaft and the foreshaft can separate. Sometimes they were made to do that, sometimes they weren't. Is that the stick you use to throw stuff? No. The atlatl, like this is an atlatl. This is the stick that I use to throw the little darts. This is just the little dart tip. You know, the point and the foreshaft are the tip of the lattice dart. This is the lattice or the throwing stick. It'll hook. I have a single finger loop. I don't use double finger loops on my lattice. It's a single finger loop. This stone is a charm stone. Has no purpose other than looking cool. This is the little weight. Okay, I wrote a weight on there in grains, I think. I don't know if that's the entire lattice or just the stone. 2,000 grains. Anyway, in the Southwest, they use these little charm stones. Anyway, this is the lattice. All right. One of them that I have. Okay. What makes backstrap unique? It's just longer. You can get long pieces. That's unique about it. The long pieces. You can't get long pieces like this from the legs. Let's see how long that is. I mean, you probably can, but it doesn't have the same kind of strength all the way down. These are 17 inches long. 17. It's hard to get leg sinew that long because you're going to need about 30 to 40 inches of length to wrap this. I used 3 pieces of sinew to wrap this. Okay, each piece at least 10 inches. Right? These are extra pieces. So yeah, that's why it's unique, because it's longer. It's also longer and stronger than leg sinew. Yeah, I just made the arrowhead on video. You can see the whole process on video, and I use natural tools. Okay? I use Antler and stone, but I did cheat and use some copper to clean up the middle because it got all nasty on one side. One of the sides was okay. I think I cleaned up that side pretty well with natural tools, but I had to clean that side up with copper because it was starting to get too crunchy. I use modeling clay instead of pine pitch glue because I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to sell this arrowhead, so I can't be messing it up with lots of glue and pitch or asphaltum or whatever. Jay Valadez, make sure you send me your address so I can send you your package, okay? Please. Jorge Valadez, send me your address so I can send you your package. Okay. Thank you for participating in the auction. Either I lost your address or I don't have it. I don't know why. Okay. Let's see. What's this? You guys are talking to each other. I'm looking for questions and super chats, okay, before I end the live stream. Mommy Like says, man, I'm learning so much being here. I'm glad I stumbled across this. Sugar as glue. Yeah, brilliant. It's easy to use sugar as glue, yes. I don't know if it's brilliant, but yeah. You don't have to go looking for lots of stuff. Does wax work? No. Wax does not work well for glue. You can try it, but you'll see. Wax does not work well for glue. It doesn't even work all that well when you mix it with pitch or asphaltum. It increases the flexibility, yes, but you don't want it too flexible. All right, so I think that's it. If I missed your question, I apologize. I don't see any other questions. It's starting to get real cold, too. I turned off the heater so I wouldn't have the background noise. But with this new software for the live stream, it doesn't pick up background noises. So I think it's going to work. I think I can leave the heater on. I just need to review the video and see. I'm in Vermont and it's super cold. The shop is 34 degrees in the shop right now. Just above freezing. Will you be trying some of let's see. Will you be trying some of my material also in a vid soon? Jim Cooper? Yeah, I'm going to be doing some arrowheads off using your. I've got 2 more pieces of this stuff that you were calling hematite. It's magnetic stuff. And I've got your box right here. Or what was in your box. So yeah, Jim, I've got your stuff right here. And I'm going to be sending your box out soon. As far as your rocks that I'm sending you. I'll be sending it, let's see. Yeah, before the next auction, I'll be sending it. Well, let's see, today's Friday. I'll probably send it out with the same shipment batch on Tuesday. Yeah, I'll send your rocks on Tuesday with the shipment batch. Okay? I'm getting tired. I can barely talk. Let's see. What is this truly for? It's for a throwing spear, what they call it, an atlatl dart. This is for the tip of an atlatl dart. It's a foreshaft and arrowhead together. These don't, the points are not separate. They're part of a system, and they're hafted to foreshafts first, and then this foreshaft is stuck into the end of a main shaft. And they did that with arrows too in many cases. Now there's archaeological evidence for the foreshafts, and I've got some notes on it. I showed it in a different video. I've got other videos where I show the foreshafts, but I've got a collection because, I do research. Collection of foreshafts for different things that match the sizes of real ones. This matches the size of a real one here. Okay? Real foreshaft found in dry caves. All right, let's see. Is hematite okay for knapping? Well, I don't know if it's actually hematite. If this indeed is hematite and not some type of obsidian, then yes, it's good for knapping. But if this is some type of obsidian, then I don't know if hematite's good for knapping. I always thought that hematite was not good for knapping. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in these materials at all. You'll just have to try it yourself. So this is a spear tip for a throwing spear that you throw out of an atlatl. This is an atlatl or atlatl. The dart or spear that comes off of this is not shown in this video. All I'm showing is the tip and the atlatl. The main shaft is about 5 feet long on average. Okay. The primitive gentleman says, also, Patrick, when you bring the edge to center line, is it usually mainly to help control or promote better thinning, convexify the underside, or is it for a separate reason usually? Is it safer? Bringing the edge to the center line helps you to see where you need to remove bulky spots. Easier to see where to make your repairs or make your thinning. That's why I bring the center line. That's why I sculpt the piece in such a way to bring the center line into view before it's finished, so I can see where I need to remove material more easily. See it. That's the main reason, because otherwise I would just leave it wonky and go with the flow, because it doesn't really affect much. if in terms of using it for a real projectile point, you can leave it wonky with no straight center line. I use it for the stuff that I sell because it makes it look like a neater, nicer, more well-made point. That's why I create a center line, an edge that matches the center line before it's finished. I hope that answers that question. It's a complicated thing to answer that simple question. Let's see. Let's see. Where we go? Nobody know. I think that's it. I hope I didn't miss anybody's questions. Will you be trying? Okay. And I can see better if I use a separate phone to check the chat. That's why I'm using a separate phone. All right. Okay. Yeah, good to see you too, Ross. It's good to see everybody. I think I answered the questions. That should be it. Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep right after this, so I'm glad everybody showed up. We had a good crowd, lots of people. And I don't see anybody spamming us, which is good. Are you the same guy that made that melted marbles arrow tip? No, I'm not the same guy. I'm Jack Crafty. Right there, see? But no, I didn't melt any marbles. And these things, these little dart points, are used for warfare and for hunting. Okay? And I don't know if they were primarily used for hunting or primarily for warfare. Especially the fancy ones. The fancy ones, I think, were used more for warfare, and the more crude ones just for hunting. Because you don't need to have fancy equipment for hunting. But you do need it for warfare, both for effectiveness, because you want to make sure your enemy is going to be injured severely from the point, and also as an intimidation factor. If you've got equipment that looks really nicely well made, they might not even want to fight you. Animals don't care how well made the arrowheads are. It doesn't intimidate them at all. Walter Tremmel, I shout out to you. You made it at the end of the live stream. Walter Tremmel, are you in the U.S. or somewhere else? Do you go live at specific times? Yeah, I have 3 live streams per week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday's live streams are 6 to 8 p.m. Wednesday's live streams are 2 to 4 p.m. Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time for everything. Monday, 6 to 8 Eastern. Wednesday, 2 to 4 Eastern. Friday, 8 to 10 Eastern. Every week. Unless I say I'm not going to do one. And that's very rare. Okay, I think that's it. I'm getting a little bit googly-eyed looking at the chat. I'll see you guys next time. Next live stream is Monday. Alrighty. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.